button on. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to week 4 of FPI. You'll notice that there is nothing showing on the screen yet. That's because we're going to do some things a little differently tonight than we have in the past. There isn't so much a lecture as I'm going to talk about a couple of issues that sometimes people ask questions about, and we're going to go through some stuff. I'll go ahead and show. Not that there's much to show. And we're going to talk about what we can do or what you could do in certain circumstances. And again, in this class was never intended to be a full video production teaching you how to be a videographer. It's just not possible to learn all of that in 4 weeks. We haven't even touched the surface of things, are gone beyond just the very briefest of things like what the video signal is and how that operates. We haven't really talked about things like frames and all those kinds of good stuff. So but tonight I do want to touch on 2 things that often I get asked a lot about. And the first is animation. And one of the things, there's a lot of programs out there that will do animation. But what you need to understand is there's animation and then there's animation. So here's Movely. You can get a free account, but if you get a free account, it puts a watermark across your work. But I think it's $24 or $25 a month, which means if you're going to do a project, you can do it, finish it in a month and export it and have it, and then, don't pay for it anymore. So it's possible. But when we look at Movely and we look at the sort of the things you'll see, and let's see, I'll play this one. And I'm going to turn the sound down because we don't need the sound. And what you'll notice is that it is animated in the traditional sense of images move. So, but it's really, it is animation, and people say, well, yeah, okay, but that's not really what I meant. It is animated. It's really like an animated PowerPoint. And then we get into something like Powtoons, which, again, a lot of people have used. And people mute it. And you look at this and you say, okay, well, that's a little bit more what I wanted. I wanted to have characters and everything. The problem with this is that as you get into this, you'll start to notice that it's the same characters. They have sort of a stock number of characters, and that's all they have. So, again, it's really more of an animated PowerPoint than anything else. In other words, there's animation contained in there, but it's not true or what a lot of people talk about when they're talking about animated. And for that, we have to go to Maya. We'll go here. And Maya, come on, Maya. Maya is really, really what you might call, what most people would refer to as animation. So sometimes people say to me, well, I've tried Movely and I've tried Powtoons, and those are not giving me what I really, really want. I want something more. Well, the reality is there's not much in between. There's sort of the Movely, Powtoons kind of stuff, and then there's like Maya. And you can see the price of Maya. It's not a cheap program. And if we go into Maya and look at it, what you will find is this. When I'm going to play a little bit of this one because this one's really particularly good. Let's make sure we have the sound off. And a lot of times people will say, well, yeah, this will allow me to create the look that I really, really want. But I want you, this is a 5-minute video. It is a nice name, Maya. Come on. Wow. Okay, so I don't know about you, but he's already kind of lost me. And I also invite you to look at these menus. As we go through this, or as he goes through this, let's jump forward a little bit, and you watch him use these menus. You see that he actually has to work on an XYZ axis, and it's not simple at all. In fact, we teach Maya here at Full Sail. It is a 2-year accelerated program. In other words, it's I'll let it go for a minute. Okay, come on. I need to stop it. Ah, all right. So here's the thing about Maya, is that it is complicated. You probably heard a fair amount of sort of geometry in there and other things. It is huge. It is a huge, huge program. You need to know how to draw. You need to know how to do some rudimentary type of programming to get things to move. Maya is a program that has a tremendous amount of, yeah, it was right back there. I know I saw it. I probably have to go back one more, but it was, there is a lot of, no, it's not going to do it. There is a free, Richard's put the link up there. There is a free version for students. It is not as, it doesn't have all the tools that the regular Maya does, but even then it is a fairly involved piece. It is not something that can be learned in a couple of weeks, and it is not something that you could pick up and run with in order to have a piece ready to turn out in a week. As opposed to, again, Movely and Powtoons and those kinds of things, you can get those done very, very quickly. It will take you almost no time to pick those up. You'll have them done in just a couple of hours maybe, and you can get something finished. So there is a huge learning curve here. And let's see, I was trying to see if they had much, yeah, they have a few things here that you can take a look at. But Maya is very, very definitely a more complicated project. So if you really are interested in sort of the animated look, just know that it's kind of like the really cheap, kind of easy looking animation that's really just animated figures being moved back and forth and graphics moving around. And then there's the high end, and it's that middle that is really, really lacking currently in the marketplace. Generally speaking, if you were going to put animation and you wanted high-end animation in your projects, you would probably need to hire an animator, and you may actually need to hire a programmer as well, because a lot of animators only do the basic drawing and preparing characters and surfaces and things, and you still need a programmer to make that character move. There is a third option, and I don't know if any of you have ever looked at virtual environments or virtual worlds, but there's things like Second Life, for example, in that you have an avatar that you animate, that you walk around in, so to speak. And Second Life in particular has built-in cameras so that you can capture stuff. But the good thing about some of the virtual worlds, particularly Second Life has a large educational population, is there's a lot of simulations already built. They are talking avatars. It will actually, you can put on your headset and talk, and your avatar lips will actually kind of sort of move with what you have. It won't be as perfect as something that was done in Maya, but it is certainly easy enough to use, and it is free. So I've seen work done through Second Life in somebody did a tsunami simulation. There's a lot of historical simulations in Second Life, so people have gone to visit Victorian worlds or medieval worlds or ancient Egypt and been able to walk around and demonstrate those things to students. So we worked a few years ago in the summer with some faculty from Okeechobee County, Florida, and one of them did a really nice piece for, I want to say, first or second graders on the life cycle of a butterfly. And she was able to actually transform her avatar into a butterfly. And then she flew around talking, flew around this field of flowers, explaining all these things. And she cut that in with still images showing like the caterpillars and the cocoons and all of that. So it's just another way to do it. The other big thing that I often get asked about is buying a camera. Usually, a lot of times people say, this is really something I'm real interested in. I'm particularly interested in videography, and I'm thinking about buying my own camera. And so, what would you recommend? Well, I'd recommend that you don't. First off, this is B&H, and I have no affiliation with them, but they are a big video store, and I have used them plenty of times to buy stuff. And you notice that we clicked on sort of home camcorders, and you can see that some of these are probably more pricey than what you would want to necessarily pay, but the price kind of drops down, and sometimes you start to get okay, $1,000, something like that. And you start thinking, well, if I'm going to actually do this as a consultant, I really should have my own video camera and all of that. And you sort of talk yourself into buying one. There's some problems with these cameras, though. These are really intended for high-end home use, or perhaps somebody who is doing like a YouTube blog or something like that. When we start talking about professional camcorders, I'll do the same thing, rank them. If you remember the other one, the highest camera was like close to $3,000. That won't be the case here. They are considerably expensive. And even if we start, when they don't have the price, it's going to be costly. And when we start to drop down into, maybe we'll go to low to high, and we'll start to look at some cameras that aren't too bad. You'll notice that this one, this little Blackmagic, is fairly well-known camera and fairly easy to use, but you'll also notice that it's missing something. It doesn't have a lens. And in fact, if you go in and you look at it, if it'll load, what you'll find is that the lenses can easily run, as you can see right here, another $1,000. This one is $1,000. Lens sold separately, right? So you're only paying $995 for this, but you're going to have to lay out the same amount again just to get a usable system. But the difference between a pro camera and one designed for the home use, I want to go over that. By the way, if you see the word PAL, that is a European system, not used in this country, and will not coordinate with things like televisions that we have unless you happen to have a PAL television. But if we find sort of a mid-range camera here, I've used this one before. It's a nice camera. What makes this camera different than that home consumer camera? And the home consumer cameras are the ones you're going to find at like Costco, Best Buy, those kinds of places. Well, there's a few things that are different, but some of the main ones are, first off, this. It will have, these are built-in indicators that tell you how the video signal is doing. For example, the zebra indicator lets you know certain things, the peaking indicator lets you know certain things, and it tells you whether or not the image is going to be optimal. Because as you remember from last week about compression, you're going to lose quality, so you want to have I'm sorry, I have had a cough tonight. I don't know why. And so, these are the kinds of monitors that are built into the camera to help you get the best video signal possible so that you can start with the highest quality before you begin to compress. But probably one of the most important is this. This camera actually handles 2 microphones separately and records them to 2 separate tracks. So if you have 2 actors, you can mic both of them, record them to 2 different tracks, and then cut from one track to the other to get the optimal sound. With the home systems, usually there's only one input, if there is even that, and so you're pointing the microphone at the actors, but you're not getting the best sound that you could. Also, other things will be, and I'm not going to go into all of this, but these things like this, which are 60 interlace and all these other native 24 frames per second, progressive, all of these are different sort of frame rates and different ways of handling, again, the video signal. And so this is going to give you much more control over your image. And so people say, well, you know what? Okay, I was thinking 1,000, but this is only 1,500, so I can handle another 500. So why don't I buy this camera? Well, this is just a camera. The problem is, in order to be really optimal here, you're going to need 2 microphones, and those would probably be wireless mics, lavaliers. And you will probably need a really good tripod, $300 or $400. You're going to need a good camera case and a tripod case. You're probably going to need a set of lights. And so this $1,500 purchase really quickly is going to become a $3,000 purchase by the time you add on all these other things you need. And so at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, how many projects am I going to shoot every year? And could I rent something like this locally? Would it be worth renting? And look at it that way, because here's the other thing. I don't know if you noticed this. Go back and go back up to some of those cameras. Come on, let's go back. My internet really slows down when we are on go to. Sorry. I started coughing one night and one of my students said, it'd be really horrible if you just sort of coughed and then just stopped talking and we wouldn't know if you'd passed out or what. Always threaten to do that around April Fools. You notice this one says 4K. Does anybody know what 4K is? 4K is a new video system that's just coming out, and it will be taking over in a few years HD. So even if you spend that $3,000, I was looking down here to see if there was any cheaper 4Ks out here. Yes, there's one for a mere $29,000. that camera that you just spent $3,000 on, it's going to be obsolete within 3 or 4 years at the most. So that's a problem. Again, if you are working for a company, this isn't going to affect you much. If you're working for a school district, you can always look for a grant to get this. But in the reality is that if you are a consultant or working on your own or trying to get started your own company, that $3,000 is a big bite, especially if you don't have any clients yet. But there are other options, and one of them is to use your camera phone. Amazingly enough, the cell phone let's try it again. Cell phones are getting better and better and better cameras in them. And we're starting to get a whole bunch of accessories for them. So all of these are lenses that fit onto a camera phone. Here's whole packages. Let's see. I was going to look and see what I have. I don't have any of these lenses yet. But if you, whoops, missed that. If you start to look around, I have this clip right here. You can see this little clip, and it attaches into any standard tripod like the one you have. That's basically what I have. I think I have a different brand, but it's the same idea. And what it does is it allows you to attach your camera directly to a tripod and turn it into, or your phone, and turn it into a workable camera. And we're seeing more and more and more of this come out. And as you can see, they're not terribly expensive. This one's $14.95. Some of them are a little cheaper. And you even have companies like this one, PhotoJojo. Again, don't own them, don't get any revenue from them, who really, really are getting into more and more of the camera phone materials. Let me see if I can get into their store, because PhotoJojo has some really incredible, incredible things. This, for example, is just a ring that fits around your phone that lights so that you can get better lighting on any images that you're taking. Actually, I think I have a sample here with the flash. You often get that sort of really bright, bouncy looking light, and again, certainly not anything like what you would have to expend for a professional video camera. And the nice thing about these is they have now mics coming out, which I really am excited about. This one is just a really nice little microphone. It's a little shotgun microphone that attaches directly to your phone and gives you better sound. So again, $70. So for a couple of $100, you can pick up a lot of accessories, including the little lenses to do various other things. There's a lens there, and all kinds of stuff that can really, really improve what you have. One of the complaints that I often have is that it's hard to get good footage with the camera that the school gives you. And I have to tell you, in all honesty, it is partially operator, because if you really understand videography, if you really, really understand it, you can get at least a decent picture out of that camera. And you can certainly probably, but I will honestly tell you, you can probably get a better picture out of your phone, because the phones are very quickly moving up. And how often do we switch our phones out? Every 2 years. So every 2 years, you can be constantly improving your equipment. The same is also true, by the way, of iPads and everything else. So this is something to really think about. Instead of spending thousands of dollars out there on a video camera, take your phone out and shoot and shoot and shoot until you can get good images with it. Because what, again, a lot of people tend to think is if they get a better camera, they're going to have better images. There you go. Did you accidentally drop it, Richard, and then accidentally step on that little Sony camera? That's kind of how I felt when they gave it to me. I felt like accidentally dropping it. The reality is, though, that a lot of this is about you knowing how to use it appropriately and how to really, really get into it. And we haven't even started, we've barely scratched that surface. What I would say is take that little camera or take your phone and go shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot until you get better at it. Then if you go out and buy a $3,000 camera, you'll really know how to use it and you'll be able to take advantage of it. But you could go out and spend $100,000 on a video camera, and if you don't know how to effectively frame and compose and light, you're not going to get good images. It's not the price of the equipment necessarily. It really has to do with your own experience. And the only way you get better is to shoot, and to shoot a lot. So explore some of these things and think about them. Think about what you might want to try or do instead of, and to get better with this, if this is something you're interested. Not everybody is. I actually saw, and I'm not seeing it here now, but I have seen, and here at Photo Jojo, actually has a clip now that goes on your iPhone. I think it was for the iPhone, that turns your iPhone into a light meter. So you can actually use it to read light and then to be able to set your camera properly to get good images. So here's color filters, tons of stuff. And again, the price of these things, I don't know how much this is enough that you can sort of get it and play with it and see if you like it. $15. And here you can see the different things that they do. And the other thing is of course, learn your editing systems, because some things can be fixed in post-production. But the best thing you can ever do is just to shoot a lot, as much as you possibly can. So that's my suggestions to you. Any questions about anything that we've talked about so far tonight? Okay, let me move on and talk about what we're doing this week. This is actually a very light week. And let me just stop before I go into this week and say that your next class does start next Monday. And then at the end of week 1 of your next month, you have spring break. I've had a lot of students today who have been confused as to when spring break is occurring. So we have classes next week, and then the week after is spring break. Easter week is spring break. So just know that. Your next class will be gaming with Andy Levin. He's a really nice guy. You should enjoy his class a lot. But here's the thing is this week I am looking, of course you have your mastery journal. You've been doing that. You know that. The other thing is you have to get your videos uploaded in your Captivate. And I know some of you have talked about you're not sure you're going to use them or whatever. I understand that. What I am looking is to see that you know how to upload into Captivate of the videos. So if you upload them and I grade you and then you take them out, that's your own business. But I do have to have them uploaded before you take them out. So you're going to upload them. So I'm going to look at your Captivate modules. Now, I haven't really looked at your modules. Some of you sent them to me, some of you haven't. But here's the point is I'm going to grade you on how well you finished out your videos and that they're in the Captivate and that when I click on them, they play. Those are important things. That's fine. So yes, it's going to compress it. So there you go. There's that little bit of nastiness going on with the compression. So what I need to do is that. Outside of that, I will give you notes on your module. Those notes are not part of your grade. They are just my experience with your module. Take them or leave them, throw them out, whatever you want to do. But just know that I will give you some notes on it. Certainly not as extensive as Dr. Deason does. He's known for his notes. He gives a lot, but I will do that. So just get your videos in there, and there's another thing is, one of the things that's really important about this whole process is realizing what Captivate, with the template that you're working out of, what Captivate will do to your video. And so that's one of the reasons why even if you think, or even if you're 100% sure you're going to take the videos back out, you still need to upload them so that you see that for yourself. Because I could show it to you, but you really know your videos and you'll be able to really see it well. Any questions about that? Okay. Last thing, and I want you to look at this image right here. I get asked this all the time, and here's another one like this. When you are working with a camera phone, people always say, well, why should I turn the phone this and get this sort of long horizontal picture rather than keeping it straight up like this? The answer to that is to go look in a mirror and look at the way your eyes are positioned on your face. Your eyes are positioned in a rectangular shape that is horizontal. So if you ever do use anything else besides a video camera to shoot, do remember to turn it properly so that you get that long rectangle. Because, and again, we don't have time to go into all this video technical stuff, but it's called the aspect ratio, the height to the width. And the more you can fill the audience's field of vision, the more engagement there is. So the more you can sort of keep them in the moment. If you've ever been to an IMAX screen, you know that only is very rectangular, but it's actually slightly curved so that it fills your peripheral vision as well. That's why it makes some people nauseous. Does anybody here get nauseated when they watch IMAX? Some people do. Some people get headaches, some people get nauseated. And the reason is because your eyes are detecting motion, but the rest of your body is not. And so you get motion sickness. But that's why you want to keep that frame horizontal. Any other questions, folks? In that case, I wish you all a good night. Have fun in your next class. Enjoy gaming. And I will see you guys, let's see, this is March. April, May, June, July, you'll be graduating. And the 1st of August, the first week in August or so, should be your graduation. I hope to see you all there. And yes, John, I will wait. The movie in Captivate is due Sunday, yes. So get that done. And I am still working on finishing the rough cut notes. I will finish those up tomorrow. I did quite a few of them today, but I have a few more to do. And that is it. Thank you all. Have a good night. Turn off the recording.